Welcome back to the Hidden Dagger podcast. We are on episode 4, joined here with...
I thought it was 5.
4. It's 4. Joshua, Joseph, Caleb, and we have a special guest today, Ben. I met Ben at welding. We both go to the same school at welding, Wake Tech. It's a great school.
Awesome school.
Met him
I went there in high school.
last January, I think, is when we started. Yeah.
Last January.
And over this past year, I've really got to know him. He's an interesting guy. You run a repair business. Ready and repair business. He can fix anything from a lawnmower to.
I fixed a bayonet recently.
Fixed a bayonet.
Oh, that is cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On what?
World War II bayonet.
World War II.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So.
You have a
very
raffle to go with it?
He's a very handy guy.
No, sadly not.
Sadly not.
Sadly not.
So Ben, thanks for coming on. Obviously.
Anytime.
I just wanted to. You want to just introduce yourself? Tell the viewers a little about yourself and what got you into welding.
So, really what got me into welding was, at the time I realized I didn't really have talent. I wasn't academically gifted like my other siblings. I had a sister who went into nursing, and I have a brother who's also interested in the medical field, thinking about becoming a pediatrics doctor.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there's me who went into welding. What really got me started was throughout most of my life I realized I wasn't really gifted with much stuff. I was like, I love doing yard work. For some weird way, I felt more comfortable using my hands than using a pen or using some kind of calculator. And as more and more time went on, I tried more and more different things. I started watching repair videos with a friend, and we started repairing things together. We, sadly, spoiler, that friend ended up passing away.
Oh,
but for the most part, I learned a lot. We learned a lot from each other.
Yeah.
It started with axes, then it moved on to more and more complicated things, starting from, no matter how much I try to get away from chemistry, I still use chemistry almost every day for repairing items. Be it through electrolysis or bluing something, which is basically turning steel black.
Okay,
that's cool.
Which is really cool to use in guns.
Like cast iron?
So what you're thinking about is seasoning.
Okay,
So that you put oil on, and you cook it at a high temperature, and it turns black.
Okay.
And non-stick.
What's the difference between that and turning a gun black?
Turning a gun black is more chemical process. It's like a chemical reaction.
Okay.
And it really turned, there's cold bluing and hot bluing. Hot bluing is you actually boil it, you clean off that rust, loosen it, then you basically apply a mixture and you heat that up. Cold bluing is you just buy literally a bottle of blue liquid. It's like it's acid-like.
Wow.
Okay.
And you actually take a brush and you paint it on there, and it turns black right before your eyes. It's really cool.
That's pretty impressive, yeah.
Wow.
I think they even do it for aluminum too, so it's really neat.
So when you were doing all this kind of stuff, this is before welding?
This was all before welding.
You hadn't ever heard of welding up until this point?
It was starting to get up there, and eventually I was fixing an axe, and I was like, man, there's these big rust divots, enough to fit your pinky nail in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I really want to fill that. And I was like, I don't want to fill it with fake stuff.
Something that wouldn't last that long, probably.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I use epoxy, you can see it, and you can see a clear, a very glossy kind of coat over with a paint on
JB
it.
Weld.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You would definitely see it, and I was like, if I mix it with dust, it won't even look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'll look even more fake. And I eventually was like, hey, I think welding's something I like to get into. The only time I ever tried welding before this was when I was 17. Before I actually decided to fully go into it, I think I tried it when I was 14. And put it down, really loved it, and then put it down. Still have my first weld to this day. I should have brought it.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been cool.
I still have it.
Next time.
I grinded it down, polished it.
You got a picture of it?
I don't have a picture of it, sadly. I still have it in my closet.
Okay, take one, send it to him. Maybe he can put it over the video.
Oh yeah, I could.
Nice,
That
but
would
it's
work.
like nothing to really show.
Wait, it's your first
Your
weld.
first weld.
I tell you what, one thing about
Bro,
welding, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. Welding's all about muscle memory.
Yeah.
So like the first time, like when you're in class,
I can imagine.
the first thing they tell you is basically grab some scraps of metal, basically, and take it to the booth and just start laying beads, depending on what kind of welding you're doing, right? So like for stick, that was the first thing we did together.
Same thing they do with TIG.
Yeah, pretty much everything. TIG, MIG, all pretty much. They
What's-
just you
what's
gotta build
TIG
the
and MIG?
muscle memory, and like
What's TIG?
What's
yeah.
TIG and MIG? What?
Let's explain it.
Sure.
It's
Ben.
different kinds of
So
welding.
TIG
Different kinds-
stands for tungsten inert gas welding.
Okay.
It is basically like stitching almost.
Oh, okay.
It is really
yeah,
you basically have a torch in one hand. You're manually feeding that wire in. I mean,
Okay.
the great thing about TIG is it can be used almost on anything.
Oh, that's
yeah.
interesting.
You
I've
use that on
welded-
thin metals too.
Well,
Now-
mainly thin metal.
Now-
Isn't that what you brought?
This actually is, I
meant
believe.
the stick.
Oh, this goes to stick.
Okay.
Different type of welding. I wish I could bring all my welding, but
Right,
it wouldn't
right.
fit in
No.
here.
Would it fit in the car?
It wouldn't fit in the car.
Now, I didn't realize that when you were welding, you were like feeding wire into it.
That's the one type of welding.
Oh, okay.
One type. There are many types of
Because-
welding. I mean, we even have welding. Have you ever heard of explosion welding?
No, but it sounds really, really metal.
Explosion welding is basically cladding on a very extreme,
Well, I don't
very
know what cladding
extreme.
is.
Cladding's basically crimping metal together.
Okay,
I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
cool.
Yeah,
I don't know all the terms and stuff, but
look them
most
up.
of them,
We'll look them up.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
mostly actually coins.
oh, okay.
Clad.
Okay.
They're not
Yeah.
explosion welded, but if you look on a quarter, you'll
Yeah.
see little thin bits of copper on
Oh,
the edges.
Yeah. I've seen those.
And
yeah.
but really it's nickel. It's cladded nickel
Okay.
Yeah,
around
that
some
is
steel.
impressive.
interesting. Yeah,
I've also know some metallurgy, so I've learned, and I could basically tell you probably what.
Cause like the
Steel.
the only experience that I have
I love.
the
You saw what he did there? He was able to tell what metal was, right? Yeah,
Oh.
We'll tell what metal. It
what
Yeah.
are these made of?
steel.
Most likely steel.
Don't shake him too
yeah,
much.
I should. Now we're all touching our mics. They're gonna get a bunch of feedback. So can you tell? Are you telling by the feel? Are you telling by the density?
No. So basically, it depends on metal characteristics.
Okay.
What's the difference between aluminum and steel? Well,
steel's
A lot of chemicals.
steel's heavier. Aluminum's
Faster.
lighter.
Mhm.
Aluminum also sucks the heat out of your skin faster.
Okay,
Oh.
interesting.
And when I touch this, I'm like, it's steel. It's not doing it as
Yeah,
fast.
it's
Yeah.
a little cool.
So back to the three main things of welding.
Learning so much on it.
It's TIG, what he was talking about, how
Right.
you're sort of
so
stitching.
the biggest three welding methods is TIG, stick, and MIG. There's also a few honorable mentions: flux core, a lot of really an awesome ones.
Yeah.
Explosion welding, which is done like in an actual bomb dome.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And another good honorable mention is oxy-fuel welding.
Oxyfuel, yeah.
Oxy-fuel.
Yeah.
Uh.
But the three main ones is like the common ones, which most people hear is MIG, TIG, and stick.
Okay.
So TIG is what you were
Tungsten
talking
inert
about.
gas.
That's the only one where you really have to use two hands
Manually feed it.
Okay.
and manually
And, I
feed
just
it.
got to use a pedal and
A pedal.
Oh,
wow.
fluctuate the heat. I mean, I really
Interesting.
put a lot of drive into TIG.
Yeah.
It's one of the
I
hardest.
w-
If you can
it's-
do TIG, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then we got stick is what that electrode's from.
This is a stick electrode. There's
Okay.
many types of stick electrodes, all from different things. Unlike TIG, which you can practically weld anything, this you really limit it because this you can't really control your heat. It's all about manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't just. What I like to do with TIG is I like to go hot and then cold with the pedal, but a lot with stick is you don't got that. So you really got to be careful. You really got to know your thickness. You really got to know what
Yeah.
you're doing. I mean,
Well, let's explain. So with stick, so you have like a clamp holder, right? You put the top of it into it.
Right.
So then you have your other, what's the other, the C clamp, or what's it called? Where
it
you
is a ground clamp.
the ground clamp. You clamp it to whatever the metal you're working on, and then obviously you have the machine on.
Oh, so when you touch them.
So then when you scratch start it, kind of like lighting a match, kind of.
Right.
And you got to start it, but you don't want to pull up too much or you'll lose the spark.
Right.
So you got to start it and keep it close, and that starts the weld.
But also, this is a consumable. So as you're welding, this goes down and down, and that's how most people lose it. Is this burns off, and they don't keep going down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all about. So yeah, in that way, it's all about muscle memory, right?
Right.
You got to keep arc length is what they call it. You got to keep the gap in between the electrode and the stick. It's kind of like a pencil. You're using it, but really quickly, like a really fast pencil.
Really quick pencil.
But
I've seen that done before, and I never knew what it was called. So that's stick welding.
that is stick welding, and then MIG welding, if you want to tell
MIG
them.
welding is basically you have a gun and
Well, he's got a gun.
you pull the trigger and it continually feeds wire out.
Okay.
And that also requires some manipulation, not
as
too
much.
much.
The angle, would you probably a
A
little bit?
little bit of the angle, but really, I mean, MIG is so easy.
They said
anyone can
one
do
of my classmates was like, anyone can do MIG, which is not
I
entirely
told you
true.
that.
Yeah.
A couple guys said
Anyone
that.
can do
Yeah,
MIG.
you pretty
Anyone.
much of all the tests, like it's always the hardest they talk is MIG, TIG. No, MIG, stick, TIG is the and then flux core. What you're saying is basically the same.
It's like if MIG and stick had a baby.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Because with stick, right, when you lay your bead down, there's a thing of slag on top that you have to chip away to reveal it.
Oh yeah.
With MIG, it doesn't have that. But flux core comes out of the same gun as MIG. It's a different wire though, right?
It's a different wire instead of like a solid wire that MIG has. And unlike this that has flux around it with a wire in the center, flux core is weird. And it has the flux on the inside of the wire.
Yeah.
And the wire's hollow, and the flux core's on the inside.
But basically, you have to chip it. You chip the slag away with
Like
that
I
as
said,
well.
it's like MIG and stick had a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've
It's the
seen
baby
that
we don't talk about.
done before on like an industrial scale where they have it automated.
Yeah.
It's basically this large nozzle that will be laying down a bead and also have powder pouring out around the edges.
Yeah.
And that's flux core.
That is a type of club. So like one thing with what, right? You have in class, we have the big book that we take home, and we have like quiz and stuff, and you watch tons of videos. And I remember, there's also kind that's like done not underwater, but like near the water, like near some water, just to keep it cool. Because one thing, the metal heats up so fast.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And want to go talk about some of the gear you got to wear while welding?
I mean, you gotta wear full-on leather. Typically, apart from the jeans, I typically like to wear cargo pants.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I wear a waffle shirt when I'm doing TIG.
Waffle shirt. What's a waffle shirt?
It's this. It's heavy cotton.
Okay, so it like kind of has some protection.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
A little
I mean,
bit.
unless you're deciding to, say, oh, this is hot.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, don't
We
wanna
had
do
a guy
that.
do that at Johnston.
Oh
That was
my
funny.
goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Not really, but
Johnson's where you went.
I
You
went
went-
to Johnston.
That guy sounds like he might need
many
some help.
accidents.
Yeah. So anyway, you want to wear
goodness.
a leather top.
Leather top if you're doing anything with sparks or chipping away slag. Always wear safety glasses, even underneath your
Yeah.
helmet.
And gloves, of course, big leather.
Gauntlet gloves. With TIG, you can get away with using thinner gloves, not gardening gloves, but you never want to get away from the leather.
Yeah.
Always leather or cotton, but for gloves, leather.
Okay.
But with TIG, you can use thinner gloves, which you want because
Manipulating a little
you're
bit more.
going to need that mobility.
Right. Okay. So it's not just muscle memory; it's also dexterity.
Yeah.
You have
Dexterity,
multiple moving
technique.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending on the kind of what. So like for TIG, it's like that. Stick, not so much. You get put on big gloves and you just sort of work a little. There's a little
Like-
bit.
Do you mind showing your mask real quick?
Dexterity.
Oh,
Dexterity is the thing. I'm long overdue for a career change. Dexterity is the thing that makes me not want to get into welding because I feel like I would make so much. Like I'm sure I could learn how to weld, but I feel like I would make so many mistakes. I feel like I'd make so many mistakes at the beginning that I might not. They might not let me into the program.
Oh man, everybody's got to start
I
somewhere.
want to try to wear it.
You know what's crazy though? So this is auto darkening, right?
Oh,
So
really?
there are some.
like
so
senses the light.
it senses the spark started by the weld and it turns on.
Wow.
So literally, our lights are so bright that the light started when I flicked
That's
it
how
up.
dark it is already.
Yep, it started again.
Cool.
And that's without
Let me try.
even an arc from.
But you can push
from
your
a
mic
weld.
away like that if you need to. Yeah,
Okay,
and that's
good.
without even
For,
light.
for those who can't see, this is about as dark
I'm
as
sweat.
probably, I don't know, what would you say, like a 5% tint on your windows? Maybe.
Right now it's at a tint 6.
Okay.
It's at
Yeah.
a shade 6. I don't know if it's the same for Windows. Is it?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I was just trying to make a comparison, but
Yeah.
it is
I can't get
very
it to
dark.
work on my
Goes
head.
without.
Well, don't put you don't
No.
you don't want to put it on probably.
I wouldn't suggest putting
I don't
it
want to
on.
mess up your fitting.
No.
Oh, trust me, it's fine.
Also, I like my fit.
Kale puts this thing on all the time, and I yell at him for changing it.
Yeah.
It's like someone changing the mirrors on your car.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh
annoying.
boy, that would.
Because I have a
make me
big
very
head.
angry.
He's saying I have a big head, which I do.
Would you actually, by the way, do you want a pastry? It'll be kind of noisy on the mics, but we have.
We
I'll
could-
have one later.
Maybe you can have one later.
Let's see.
yeah.
Let's see
I love
after
it.
the show. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, bro.
Hey,
It's,
you're
it's
good.
cherry and cream cheese.
But so
very
so
good.
that
Yum.
so that's the auto darkening, right? So
Okay.
a lot of welders and one of our instructors won't dox him on the pod, but he was
it.
big about
Do it.
fixed lens. So basically, with a fixed lens, it is just the lens; it doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically what they do is, you want to explain a little bit?
So fixed lenses literally, or I think they call them passive lenses.
Passive lens, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They just stay dark all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And until you strike an arc, that's when you can start seeing things. I technically really don't like them.
It's like the
Yeah.
glasses you wear during eclipses, where it's like really dark.
Yeah.
So there's like a really
Oh,
bright
okay.
light. Yeah.
I mean, these
I
auto
still have some of
darkenings
those.
have come really a long way. They used to be like a shade of green, like a really distinct shade
Yeah.
green.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've seen that before.
The technology
And
is getting
this,
better.
This is actually True Color. There are only, fun fact, there are only 2 companies that actually have truly mastered True Color technology: Lincoln, and
Lincoln Park.
3M.
Okay.
Are those like and do they have like a trade secret on how they do it?
I assume they do.
Yeah.
Kind of like this, kind of like tank steel.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can't imagine they're really passing that around.
So back
Yeah.
with a fixed lens or passive lens, right? So what the welder will do, if you wear it, you get it to the point where you're about to strike the arc, and then you with the nod of your head,
you can
it
nod it, but
slides
that's
to
I keep it
place.
on all the time, and
Yeah.
Well-
that or I go around and I scare Caleb.
Let me ask the two of you who actually weld. What do you think is a better viewing port? Because I've seen them in all kinds of different styles. From
Yeah.
that
They're all
rectangular view
really
to
the
like more of
same.
a...
A round one.
Yeah.
So this actually so this isn't the screen. This is a protective screen.
Right.
The sensors are here, 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 and here.
Okay.
This very faint screen in the middle, that's the screen.
So
Some are bigger, some are smaller. Really depends
Yeah.
on which
So,
person
like,
you go
I-
for.
does this thing require like batteries to make it change?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But they don't.
They last a while.
They last a pretty
Yeah.
good long while.
not
I've
a
only changed mine
Major
once.
change. Yeah.
And also they're different. Like that helmet probably goes for $200. Right now it's around 300 because prices have gone up. But I bought a cheap one for
Okay.
$45. Haven't tested it yet, so it could be bad. But it
I'll
just
know
they,
if you say, Ben, I can't see.
He's walking out and bumping into things.
Ben, I
I'm
can't
over
see.
here, Caleb. Follow the sound of my voice. Ben, that's a wall. Sorry.
Because one thing about welding, right? So it's ultraviolet lights. One
Right.
of the reasons why you wear the jacket to cover your arms. I remember one time.
Is that how you've been getting tan in winter?
Yeah.
Basically.
No, or burnt.
Imagine standing near a nuclear power plant. Like,
I used to
don't
live
want
near
to.
the Sharon Harris plant.
yeah, it's basically like soaking up the sun really closely. That's basically welding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph,
So-
you might want to... Yeah, I was going to say adjust your shirt.
So I remember one time you were
Happy
welding.
trouble.
I think you were welding something, and I was just watching. We would just come back from break, and I forgot to. I put my helmet on, obviously, but I forgot to not. I just was in a short sleeve shirt. I didn't think anything of it. And I remember that night I got home,
Until-
and my arms were pink, like bright red.
Oh, my
wow.
goodness.
Like
I was
an
like-
actual sunburn. Wow.
Literally, it's basically
That is
because
what
I
it
was
is.
as
Because
close.
it's UV. Yeah.
He was like as close as I am to Joshua right now,
Wow.
and I was just watching, and that's pretty much if you're close to the sun.
Dude, I wouldn't survive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
bro.
so
I could already see through my skin. Like,
Bro,
I'm
I
not
get-
gonna last very long.
he'd catch on fire.
I get cancer. Like a
I've had a
vampire.
few people catch
Like the
on fire.
vampires in JoJo. where
Oh
they
my
just-
goodness.
So let's circle back to So you got into welding, and did you like do any do any research about it when you first
To
started?
be honest, the only time I ever did any research or anything was when I first went there.
Yeah.
First did my first weld. That was it.
Yeah.
And apart from the angle grinder, I didn't know anything else much about welding.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it. And when time to pick a career or pick something, because that's the rule in my family house.
Yeah.
Smart.
I chose welding. My parents were like, what?
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing though. Like right now, trades are so big. Like I would, if I was advising someone coming up, unless you know exactly what you want to do, like if you want to be a doctor or an engineer, right, that needs a 4-year degree, or for doctor, you need more than that, right? But there's so many trades, not just welding, plumbing, like the Chick-fil-A. I work at Chick-fil-A. The Wake Tech building where we go, it has plumbing in there.
Oh yeah.
Heating and air.
HVAC,
right? So trades like that.
I have a friend who
Plumbing.
Auto mechanic,
exactly. Like plumbing is dirty, but it pays really well.
Oh yeah.
sure does.
It's a me. I'm gonna have to become a plumber.
You ever get your plumbing bill? It's insane.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're someone who's like looking for a trade or not sure what you want to do, college ain't the thing for you. Look, take a look at some trades.
It's a 2-year degree. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really affordable. Community college does it.
It's a 2-year program. That's what
That's
we're
what I
in.
should have done.
I mean, yeah, unless you want to take it like up a step above,
Yeah.
like do something with engineering mingled into it.
Yeah, but that's just more school.
Well, let me ask you. First of all,
Yeah.
do you have a welding job now?
No.
I
Not yet.
do not know.
Okay.
The problem with a lot of trades are dying out. Why is that? Well, you get a lot of rough
Robots.
people.
Oh.
Robots, times are changing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people want to do the work. But one of the major reasons is the people aren't as accepting.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
They're like, well, it's mainly all about the money. They're like, oh, they see, when I've walked into a job, they've like, oh, we've had competition.
Oh boy.
And
yeah.
at that point, I'm like, look, man, if we can't work together, then nothing's going to get done.
Jeez,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
I've heard things
So
about
instead
that.
of seeing it as an opportunity to train a new generation of welders or tradesmen, rather, they see it as
A lot of
you're here,
competition.
competition.
It's like,
One of us
oh,
isn't going to get
Yeah.
paid.
You're
Very
gonna replace
rarely,
us. You're a rival.
very rarely do they accept.
Yeah.
I would say-
often breeds competition.
I wouldn't say for all jobs,
Yeah.
but just you
A lot of the trades.
I've
specifically
worked in
came at some
places
bad places.
that
Yeah.
have been very rough. I wouldn't say this is about like every place. It
No.
can't be every place.
Obviously not. No.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been through places that have like one place told me I was untrainable and I was grinding stuff, and I'm like, look, I've been grinding things since forever. Really?
Yeah.
And that was my job, was to grind stuff. Just grind the edges off of metal. I was like, really? You're telling me I'm
Preparing
untrainable?
it for welding, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm untrainable,
Yeah.
sure.
Mm.
And the other place, it was just mainly a lot of competition. Some
Yeah.
part on my bad part, but a lot of it was competition. And I eventually just was like if you made a mistake, it was a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm learning.
Right.
Yeah.
And they didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I would get done 300 parts of something, but I would have like maybe 30 to 20 mistakes. And it wouldn't be like, oh wow, Ben got done all these parts. It'd be like, oh wow, Ben has 20 to 30 mistakes. That's a bad thing.
Oh, man. Yeah.
They weren't very. Yeah.
That's a
Sounds
shame.
grossly pessimistic just for the sake of
It
keeping
is.
people out.
It's
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, and then people wonder, well, why people don't want to do the work. Well,
Literally,
I mean,
before you started talking about this, I was thinking, bro, I should get a trade. I got these really nebulous degrees from college, but now, you know,
Well, that's-
it's
We don't want to
kinda
scare you
cutthroat.
off from
it
welding.
is. It's very cutthroat.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. Yeah.
Very.
Welding, when you make it, but yeah, you're going to have to make it. You have to compete with people. Like your specific, situations, that's really bad. That's a company you probably don't want to work at, right?
One place actually said, yeah, if once you finish your degree, we'll hire you back. I said,
No.
Bruh.
Yeah. Yeah. That also, I'm going to have to, it also probably depends. Once you, that 2-year certificate or whatever, is it a degree? Yeah, it's
two-year
associate.
certificate.
Yeah. Once you have that, that'll probably
It's our
help.
2-year degree, yeah.
But one thing for me personally that got me into welding was, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I always wanted to do something with my hands.
Yeah.
Always been I don't like sitting at a table. You know, a lot of book work, right? So I always want to do something. I've told you all this before.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something with my hands, right? So I'm looking into things, and I got exposed to a little bit. And when I tried
I'm
it for
just glad you didn't choose pottery.
Yeah.
I
One of my best friends from college loves pottery.
You in a pottery shop.
You know, sculpting the bowl.
Spinning
Hey.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bump this, but spinning the turntable. Oh yeah.
There's only one type of turntable that I like.
This is gonna be a nice spittoon.
That's a spittoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, one of my best friends from college is not really by profession. She's in the medical profession, but like as a hobby, she really loves pottery. So like,
I tried making pottery.
yeah,
I would say it might be.
that seems very tough.
I think that's not a very competitive business right now.
It seems like it would be fun, but I feel like I probably wouldn't. It would probably wouldn't work out so well.
Third world country, I'd have to say.
I think I quite.
Yeah. For those listening and watching, you probably can hear in the background a little music going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joseph's neighbors are throwing on a party.
Yeah,
apparently,
Somebody
so
just turned
it's-
18 años.
It's a traditional. It's a
I
traditional.
mean, what do you expect? It's Saturday night.
Traditional Mexican fiesta. The only thing.
Once
is,
this episode ends, we're gonna go hang out with them.
well,
wrap it up.
well, maybe. I literally don't know any of
I'm
them,
kidding,
but
I'm
like,
kidding.
I'm fairly certain that the tent that they have set up is not allowed by the complex. But
Oh well. Not our problem. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure that we're not allowed either.
no. Once again, I don't have their number. I don't know any of these guys. They're just.
Yeah. So
I don't even
I
know
didn't
what
mean to cut
unit
you
they're
off, though.
from.
I'm sorry.
what?
I said I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no,
the
you're good.
Pottery comment.
But about so that I've always wanted to do something with my hands. When I got into that hands-on, one thing, I'm not saying that I'm not
By the way, I'm glad you also didn't go into basket weaving.
masculine.
Yeah, that's especially not underwater basket weaving. Ayo.
Hey, look,
Yeah. But I will say, because I'm not really books. I'm not saying I'm not dumb, but one of my struggles is I just have issues.
I know you're not dumb.
Just applying the effort. So if I don't do well in classes, it's not that I don't understand it. It's just that I'm not putting in the effort, right? So one thing I liked about welding, and you probably can relate, the main important test, you have quizzes online and stuff, but it's hands-on, right?
Yeah, and you can see your improvement.
You can see your improvement. Yeah, you can, if you have good instructors, which Wake Tech does, take it to them. They'll give you good tips and stuff. So, and I've done really well with that. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. If you're looking for something that's hands-on, if you want to do something hands-on, you don't mind working, and if you want to make good money, welding's that, because maybe not starting out, as with everything, you gotta compete, you gotta get raised and stuff. But once you get up to there, I remember one, I think it was like a record setting, but this one guy, he worked on the pipeline welder. Mm. So basically,
that's some good money right
if you're
there.
a pipeline welder, you can build your rig pretty much, truck, and you travel the country a lot of times getting jobs. He made $7,000 in 1 week. I think I told you this, but
oh my gosh, that's a good week.
Yeah,
But still,
obviously that's not like every week, but it
Still.
just there's the the opportunity for that.
and I mean, I don't buy a lot, so like $7,000 that could last me for a good long time.
Yeah, but there's so many different types of welding, right? So there's like pipeline welding, as I said, a lot of the fabrication, some of the stuff you're into. So TIG, right? It can deal on all metal, but a lot of thin metals, right?
Aerospace.
Aerospace.
Ooh. Yeah, I'll bet there's some good money in that too. Aerospace welding. Oh my gosh.
It made
SpaceX, NASA.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be
Artemis
honest.
mission coming up.
You probably got more. You probably get more.
So the Artemis mission coming up. We're going to the moon 2025.
Dude,
going back.
Somebody's
speaking of
gotta
that,
make that.
I cannot wait to see the pictures
That's gonna be so cool.
and the video and just.
Stanley Kubrick is gonna have so much. I'm just kidding.
Meanwhile, Russia.
You know what I'm
is like,
referencing.
We're fighting this war in Ukraine, and America's going to the moon. What the?
Say we divert. Well, no, never mind. Let's not make any politically
The
charged
Russians
comments.
are diverse,
But
Anyway,
but the
that's
Ukrainians
well,
are more diverse. That's
Yeah.
why the government likes them.
let me ask you this, Ben. So now, I mean, even though you said you're not working for a welding company currently, have you found that now that you've put in the time and effort and you've shown that you can do welding and get better at it progressively, that how does your family feel about that now?
They've actually come to me with most repairs.
Really?
Oh,
A
cool.
lot.
What-
There was a
What kind
lawnmower
of
breaking.
things do you fix for your family?
Yeah.
Occasional.
Because like my dad has
lawnmower,
never had anything he
weed
needs
whacker.
to weld. Okay. So you
I
can
mean,
just fix anything really.
yeah, with welding, you can pretty much do everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
Ben is. I tell you
That
what,
is
I've been fortunate enough to come over to his place and see some of the stuff he works on. It's not just welding. I mean, you worked at what was that? A grinder a few months back. A grinder.
Fixing a grinder I pulled out of the trash. It was like a 7-pound angle grinder. This big
Wow.
angle grinder.
they threw it away?
They threw it away. It was missing parts, but I fixed it, retrofitted it to take the no
Regular
longer
Anakin
discontinued-
Skywalker over here.
The no longer discontinued guard, guard wheel. So
How big is
impressive.
it now? What
I mean,
kind of
it's-
grinder will it take?
it will take, I think, like a 1/2-inch disc.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Wow.
You can cut anything with that.
Oh yeah,
Pretty
I mean,
much. Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. So Ben, now I know you were talking about, and I've talked with you personally about this, but like, what kind of welding do you see yourself going into?
I'll tell you this. I've spent so much time in a TIG. When I first went to Johnson, they actually weren't expecting me to even last very long. Their whole thing was, well, this short guy isn't gonna make it.
You're
And-
taller than me, I think. Are
They
you? I
they
don't know.
were
Doesn't matter.
they were like, this little guy won't make it.
Bad
In
school.
fact, I was the butt of every short joke. To a point, even some things I was like, okay, that's a little messed up.
You haven't met me yet.
I was like,
Should
yeah,
be Joshua.
you shouldn't be saying that to a student. And
Oh,
these
geez.
other grown men shouldn't be
Wait.
saying this even though they're fellow students.
There,
Right.
wait, there were like teachers making short jokes about you, bro.
One teacher really,
Yeah, I
was
ain't going
like,
into welding. Heck no, bro.
It's like, this is a little awkward.
Yeah.
But they,
No, I should. It'll make me stronger.
I
just-
ended up rising above them.
Yeah,
And I
based.
kid you not, and they said, yeah, Ben actually has become one of our best students.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
told me this.
That is the grind. That is the true
The
grind right
teacher
there, bro.
who really discriminated against me told me this. I printed out all the tests that he ever gave me. And every time they had the answers on everything.
Good man, bro.
Thank you. Sorry for the awkwardness.
I thought Joseph was raising his hand.
I thought he
But
was
anyway,
too.
so you're saying TIG is your passion.
TIG is my
You should
passion.
use TIG. His TIG is really good.
So, yeah, that's very strange that a school would allow that kind of.
It's
It was
yeah.
weird.
But it
Johnson's
is-
very rough. And
Yeah.
wait
Yeah.
till we get into the accidents. You will be like, what the?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking.
Natural selection happens there a lot.
Yeah,
That'd be the only place
that's
it
why he
happens.
transferred from, like, Johnson is not. There are a lot of good welding schools out there. Johnson's just awful. Wake Tech, you go to Wake Tech, they won't say anything about
Wake Tech's so much nicer.
nothing about appearances or anything.
Johnson has a big grip against Wake Tech. They say, oh yeah, well, we are on the top school for making good welders. Well, that's technically not true. You make better iron workers, but not better welders.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a bit of competition going on between the schools. I
Right.
feel like.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I think overall, Wake Tech is definitely more popular. I mean,
It's
when
bigger.
it's bigger. When you like apply for classes, I've had the unfortunate situation where if you don't, when it's time to register, if you don't register within the hours, at least for the welding, that class will fill up, especially in the spring and
That
fall.
short amount of time.
Seriously,
That short
I
amount of
missed
time.
like a few days. I came on, I was waitlisted number like 8.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school. I was homeschooled in high school, and we had some.
Nice.
I had some classes. Yeah, I was homeschooled all throughout until college. But there were some classes that were just so advanced. Not even your engineer parents can teach you some
Yeah.
of it. And so I went to Wake Tech for a couple
Wake Tech's great.
classes. Yeah, and it was it was kind of hard to like get in, but
Yeah.
that they were actually pretty good in classes. Little funny story. I believe it was in my physics class. I had a research. Well, it was like a study buddy. Like everybody in the class was in like study groups. This guy that I was partnered with, his name was Jihad. That was his name.
Like the same spelling? And I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
I actually don't know what the spelling was because I never saw it in print. I just like talked to him, but his name was Jihad, and I was like, "Man, I don't know about this. I don't know about this study group. I know we're just doing like physics, but like, ooh boy."
Yeah, that's a little rough.
Yeah, it is.
That's very rough.
Some
But
names
the
just
class,
set
the
you up.
class was good quality. No, it's okay to laugh. I have a ridiculously dark sense of humor, and there are some things that make me laugh that other people would be like, "Yo, what's wrong with you?"
I'm sure Jihad didn't feel that way.
Well, no,
Hopefully
we
he didn't
weren't
laugh at
laughing
Jihad.
at his
like,
name.
that's my name.
He told me his name, and I was just like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah."
Yeah. But anyway, so let's circle back. One thing you learn
Sorry.
about this podcast, we go on a lot of tangents, which is good. I enjoy that, you know?
It is.
But we enjoy that. But so back to TIG. So yeah, what we were saying earlier, a lot of aerospace. That's mainly TIG, right? Not so
Mainly.
much because it's a lot of thin metal.
Bet Musk has some TIGs guys working for him.
Probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you ever, Ben? Would you ever
Work
work for
us.
SpaceX?
I in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, he'll work
Elon
you
Musk
into the
would be
ground,
a
but I'll
cool
bet he'll
job.
pay
Oh,
you
I'd
good,
go
too.
into that ground for that. As long as he gives me one of those cars, those are nice.
But here's
Oh,
the thing,
man.
right? Like, Elon Musk as a boss, you know, he works so much. Like he works 60-hour
yeah.
weeks. He talks about he's like the richest guy in the world or one of them, and he like talks about he doesn't have a fancy house. He lives in his office basically and works insane
It's got a
amount.
500 square foot tiny
Based.
home.
He's pretty inspiring.
I guess you
really
could say
is.
that from a work ethic standpoint.
Yeah. From that point
Yeah.
only, and the stuff he's doing. I mean, you know, he talks about all about going to Mars and all that. His main thing is he wants to die on Mars, not on impact. But
Does
you
he?
know,
Not
Does
an
he want to
impact.
start a Martian colony?
yeah, that's it. That's his
And
end goal.
retire.
You know
there?
what? I will go to that Martian colony.
I think I
If
would
they
too.
make like a good Martian colony and it's affordable by a pleb like me, I will totally go there, and I will retire there, and I will be in my those little
Yeah,
a
I don't-
retirement community on Mars, looking at the stars. It's gonna be like, well,
There's
I
Earth.
say stars. Mars does have a sky and an atmosphere, so it's not just the
Yeah.
stars,
Yeah.
but still,
At night.
man.
At night.
at night. Yeah, that would be.
It'd be insane.
I don't think it's gonna be in our lifetime. I just have a feeling.
Yeah.
I got this
Probably
weird
not.
feeling.
Maybe
yeah.
like couple hundred years in the future.
Our life is not good enough for Mars to happen in our lifetime.
Anyway, let's circle back.
Sorry, guys.
No, you do not have to apologize. But I'm just trying to
I
keep
was
us on
bringing the
track a
tangent,
little
bro.
bit, right? But have you looked into? I know I've talked with you about this, but have you looked into any potential aerospace? Not exactly that, but kind of like that kind of direction in that.
I've looked into a few. There's a few programs. There's quite a bit of things. I mean, again, they're cherry picking guys.
That yeah,
Mhm.
like the background check for that is extensive,
Oh, I would
as it
imagine.
should
Yeah.
be. I hope so.
I mean,
Yeah.
my goal is if I can't build a rocket, I probably would like to build a plane or tank.
That would be
That
cool.
would be cool.
Tanks are nice. I
What-
want a
Yeah.
tank
so-
in my driveway.
My assumption would have been that all of that was automated, but you're saying that that it's enough
Some
of
of
it is
it,
hand done.
some
you
of
can
it can be
do it.
hand done.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing.
Interesting.
Is
So,
that different doing it with titanium? I'm sorry.
No.
Titanium?
Yeah, because tanks are made out of titanium, right?
No, it's a special type of steel.
Okay.
Special
Yeah,
type of steel
that
with
much
limbs and joints.
titanium
But I
would
can
be
weld
really
titanium.
expensive.
It's like welding stainless. It's just a little bit more liquidy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would think that tanks were mostly steel because I feel like isn't titanium a little bit more
Oh, titanium is stronger but lighter,
But no, what
but
I'm
it's
saying
also
is
more brittle.
yeah, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is isn't titanium a little more expensive or a lot more
A
expensive?
way more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would think that most tanks would be steel. I have so my parents didn't take me to Disney World. They did take me to Busch Gardens, but they did not take me to Disney World. Instead, whenever we went on vacation, we went to history and science museums because
It's pretty cool.
my parents wanted me to be smart. The jury's out on whether they succeeded, but I hope that they succeeded. But
We'll decide.
we
We'll make that decision.
somewhere around here. I had this little piece of titanium from this museum we went to, where they had one of those machines where they smush things and stretch them. Those machines that they use for testing materials.
Oh,
and I
like
had
a
this little
tensile
piece
strength test?
of what?
Like a tensile.
Yeah,
strength test.
yeah, something like that. And I have a little piece of titanium that they used for that, and I just I don't know. For some reason, I decided to take it, and I've had it for years. I don't know where it is, but it's lying around here somewhere in the.
If the museum that Joseph took that from watches this podcast, he's all yours.
Oh no! I didn't. No! I didn't.
We don't know him.
I didn't steal it from it. It was a leftover.
A fugitive.
Yeah, we're good.
Hang on, guys. It was a leftover piece of thing that they said that I could have.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Well, I know. We know.
What you said earlier, though, right? About
it was just a test sample.
Thinking that planes and stuff like that are a lot of automation, which there is, but there's also a lot of
There's a lot of manual work that still needs to be done.
But I think we talked about it earlier at the beginning of the podcast where we're talking about how as some trades are dying, the introduction of automation and robots and stuff.
Yeah,
One thing about welding, I remember talking to one of our instructors. Won't mention his name on the podcast, just don't want to dox. But anyway, remember him talking about how, yes, there are a lot of robots coming in with welding, but it's not so much taking welders' jobs. But what you'll learn is as time goes on, you'll be able to, as you're welding, it'll make you more proficient. So you could be welding at something and you could have a robot on your side and you could be like
robot buddy. That
sort of
cool.
not like having like a control, but kind of like you can like put it on one spot and like let it go and it'll be helping you weld. So it's not like it's going to take your job completely because it can't do really everything that we know of.
Yeah.
It can't go in the field.
Exactly. So pipeline welders who go out on the pipelines and stuff, their jobs are safe. It's more probably in the shop kind of stuff that would maybe is sort of changing a little bit, but
AI makes me a little nervous. You ever seen those AI art things going around? Some of that art is way too good to be done by a machine. It's a little.
Some of it's not.
Yeah.
Some of it's like crap, but some of it is amazing.
I've had to fix some metal art that was.
Speaking of art,
I don't want for AI to get much more powerful than it is now. We don't need Skynet.
One thing about art, which is pretty art. Speaking of art,
metal art
of all the welding stuff, TIG. I almost would describe it sort of like art because you can as opposed to like MIG and stick with TIG welding, you can play around with the gas and stuff, and if you get really good. It looks like art.
It does.
It looks so good.
It's beautiful, especially with stainless.
Stainless, too?
Beautiful fish scales.
Yeah, it really does. It looks like that, yeah.
Well, here's something that I gotta tell you that might be handy for a side hustle. Have you ever tried making welding? Have you ever tried welding metal sculptures and making something that you can kind of sell a little bit on the side? Because you could. The hipsters dig that stuff. They love that.
Yes, but I also gotta I fixed a metal sculpture. This ostrich. It had the worst welds on it ever.
Yeah.
Well, you can make sculptures with a good weld.
It had porosity in almost every inch of it.
Yeah.
Well, they're artists. They're not.
But yeah, this thing sold for $80.
How big was it?
Almost as tall as me.
That was.
And I look at this thing and I'm like, $80. This woman got scammed. Poor lady.
Yeah.
They probably just covered up with paint.
Well, see, here's the thing.
No, they didn't. They didn't cover it up with paint. That was worse, and its head fell off. That's what I had to fix.
Here's the thing.
I'm like, this ostrich should be put to rest.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about art.
Too bad for the woman.
I feel like with art. I feel like with art, a lot of it is like a bluff. If you can act like something is supposed to be expensive, you can sell it for a lot. Like if somebody can duct tape a banana to a wall and sell it for thousands of dollars.
That was me who did that.
You could. No, that was me. You could do that with That's why I own my own terrible apartment. But basically. I feel like there is kind of an art to selling your own art. If you can get pretentious enough about it, and if you're dealing with an art buyer who is also pretentious and stupid, as many art buyers are, you might actually be able to sell sculptures for more than $80 if you can. Yeah. You gotta. The thing is, I've never really tried selling art in a while because I've just been too busy
recently.
There is a place near me that actually does make metal art, and it's actually pretty good. It's not bad looking.
There's one in Pittsburgh, I know.
There's actually one down the road from me.
Where?
Right off of Six Forks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right near Six Forks.
As you were saying about how with art you basically just have to make it look good. in that aspect, welding is the exact opposite. We actually have
You
some
have
of
to make
the
it strong.
Tensile tests.
So explain to the viewers and to Joseph and Joshua what those are. And
Yeah.
how you
These
make
are.
those.
Here, you want me to toss you it?
Sure.
I don't want to break anything.
Are you right-handed? I got it.
Oh. I don't
Nice.
got
I
it.
wasn't expecting it to be that bad.
It is bad. Hence why I didn't go into baseball.
You
Okay.
know,
Could you
we
imagine
have-
me
we
as
have
a pitcher?
we have tossed this guy things countless times. He has very seldom caught it, which is
Anyway,
My
yeah.
goodness.
Joseph.
this is.
I mean
heavy.
Ben. Sorry.
So that's steel. This
Okay.
actually used to be flat at one point. Do not
You're-
try. You'll hurt yourself.
Yeah, I know.
So basically, one of the main
that's not going
tests.
Is
Right.
it bend test?
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's not going.
what you'll
nowhere,
take
bro.
is an 8x8 of steel. Was it quarter inch? Was it quarter inch or
It's-
3/8?
I think it's quarter inch.
Yeah. So basically,
1/4.
take it to cut it at a was it 60 degrees? I'm pretty Joseph. The camera's gonna be on me this whole time when I'm talking. Just kidding. Well, you're trying to
okay.
you're making
This-
things for the
Little did we know,
camera.
Joseph just bent it and we didn't get it.
This sort of thing. No, this sort of thing does not deserve to be shown. But if it does,
Yeah.
you can like switch back and forth. You can do
But
whatever you want.
anyway, so what you'll do is cut it. I think it's 60 degrees, right?
You'll cut it at a 34-degree angle
Yeah.
and grind that down. Put a little landing on it, which means get rid of the edge from the cut, and put it together with a certain gap in between it, and you weld it.
This is awesome, bro.
And then once you weld it, you cut out what is this, a 1.5 inch strip? I think.
1.5, I'm pretty sure.
Clean it up, and then you take it to a bender and you bend it.
Basically,
and if
it
snaps,
pushes down. The plate's like this.
Okay.
Right.
Bender comes down, 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 and it kind of folds up.
Yeah.
And so the way you
pretty
know
cool.
that your welds
Are-
are strong enough and are
If it doesn't crack. If it
So this
doesn't
has a
bulge out-
tiny thing, but that
Very
will
tiny.
pass.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I didn't want to point it out.
Oh, it's fine. That's actually.
But see-
the best.
Passed.
See that like little dip kind of right there?
Yeah.
That's the metal, and that's his weld. So that's how you.
But isn't there one
So
here
this.
as well? Oh no, wait.
Where right there.
See
See that little fin? How it's
Yeah.
different.
Okay,
That's
so
the
this
root.
Is the
That's
weld,
this is
and
the
that
back
is the
of it.
weld?
Okay. Cool.
So what we do is we test the root and then the face.
Yeah.
So
and you gotta pass both.
in order to pass the test, you got to pass the root and the face.
Because
I don't think I'll be. I don't want to test my luck.
Yeah, not with the mixer over here.
and what? So you'll have the 8x8. You take out 2 strips, and you have to pass both to pass the test. Like if one strip works, passes, and the other one fails, doesn't matter.
Wow.
You're out.
You're
So they
out.
just gotta do
A
it.
lot of
But that's the
people
thing.
fail 'em.
They let you do it again. It's not like
I mean, generally it's pretty strict, but
and
Yeah, Caleb fails like 20 a day.
and I'm
Man.
still there somehow.
that's lower than I thought it was going to be.
One thing though, so that's bend tests. In some, I don't know if they do it at Wake Tech, but some places they do X-ray tests.
There's X-ray.
I've heard
There's
of that.
mag particle testing.
Yeah,
There's
that's like-
a bunch of different testings.
yeah. This is a very common weld test though.
That's a very common one.
But this was 1G, right? So 1G is flat.
That was
No,
actually
2G.
That's a stick.
Stick weld.
I'm pretty sure. No, MIG.
Interesting.
That's a MIG.
Oh, this is MIG.
So that was vertical.
Yeah. So basically, 1G is flat. 2G.
2G's like this, so it's going
So
horizontal.
you're going across.
3G is
You're going up, and
And
then
5G
4G.
is coming for us all. Sorry.
5G's coming.
Yeah. 5G.
4G
is, gonna
is
destroy
like kind of like this.
kind of like
It's
if you're
going
welding the
up.
ceiling, kind of sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What situation would you be doing a 4G?
That so
Really depends on the application.
yeah. And the main thing about this test
Interesting.
with these tests specifically, so what you first, as we were saying earlier, right? So you have the 2 pieces of metal with the whatever gap is supposed to do wide. The smaller the better. Smaller the easier, because too wide it makes it too hard. But what you're practicing is for pipe. So you have to lay an open root, which is like basically the first weld. Which
Right.
is that 60-10 an electrode?
It's 60-10.
Yeah.
Want me to toss
So
this to you?
Nah, fine.
Yeah.
I'll poke your eye out.
Let's stop throwing things out. I have
Kill.
belongings in this room.
60-10. So that you mainly use just for the open root.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that open root, if you don't get enough penetration, and just if you don't do it good, you might as well throw out the whole thing and just start again. Because
Okay.
when you're gonna bend it, it'll snap. I mean, there's no way.
Right.
Like your face can be like completely fine, but
If
your
the
roots suck,
if the
that's
roots,
it.
yeah.
Don't weld people's faces.
Do you
Or
mind if I
face
ask
of
you?
Yeah, I know
when
what you're
you're
talking
saying,
about. I'm making a
you're
terrible
saying
pun.
the root. Is this in something that you're welding to close a gap, or is this like a ridge that you're filling in?
Kind of like a crater almost.
Kinda,
If
yeah.
you
Okay.
imagine it.
Well, it can be both.
I can imagine.
So for this test, I find, I mean, this is just this test is testing just if you can weld, basically. But with pipe, right? So a lot, like if you're on the pipeline, you'll bevel the pipe,
Okay.
and then you'll have a gap. So basically, what we're practicing on plates, they're training us for if we're ever in the situation with pipe. And when you're in the field on pipe, you better be good, because you can't really, can you really test it like in the field?
I mean, as one of our teachers said, I asked him when I didn't do too well on one of those. It had a decently sized crack. It wasn't very noticeable,
But
he was
it
like,
didn't pass then, did
it
it?
did pass.
Oh, it did pass.
But he's like, that would fail. And I said, why? He's like, takes his lighter, holds it up. He's like, flicks it on. He's like, would you want gas coming out of that?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I see your point.
Like,
Yeah.
If I can imagine if you're working on one of the pipelines.
I actually,
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
one
with
of
these.
the worst welders I ever met. Now, he wasn't bad with his welds. He was bad with his mentality.
Yeah.
He
How so?
said, how so? He said, I asked him, I'm like, why do you want to become a welder? Well, it's pretty easy. It's fun. And I said, okay, what type of welder do you want to be? I'm like, construction welder. Well, why is that? He's like, well, because your welds don't matter.
Oof.
Oh.
What ran through my mind was like, you're telling me if you built this skyscraper,
Dude, in construction,
it breaks,
Yeah,
you kill 50,000
My gosh.
people or more.
that is a horrible
When- when
attitude for
someone
a
says
construction
to you-
welder.
Why? You're gonna like, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
that-
What
I had
thing-
to hold
mentality.
back. I had to
Dude,
bite
sounds
my
like
tongue
a sociopath.
and not say that.
Yeah. One of my friends who he started out, went to a tier, it wasn't Wake Tech, but he lives up in Youngsville. Andy Lynham, you probably know him, just to our church.
Oh yeah.
He started out, he's a welding inspector, and he'll show me pictures. His job now, he doesn't do much welding anymore, but his main job is he goes to certain places and inspects welds, and some of the welds he sees are probably from guys which the same attitude as that guy had, which
So
they just don't care.
So wait, he's a welding inspector. Did he start off as
Yeah,
a welder?
he started
but
as a
then kind of
welder and
become an
then
inspector?
went up
Yeah.
and was
Interesting,
able to
yeah.
get
So
that position.
what I'm noticing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that welding is kind of its own reward in the sense that it's a craft, and
Yeah.
that you start out at the
It's
bottom,
hard, bro.
but as you work, you get better, hopefully over time. And that in some situations it can be high risk, high reward.
Yeah,
So
that's probably fair to say.
yeah,
Very fair.
Yeah, the thing with welding, I don't know if you probably tell me if you agree with this, but unless you're like really if you really just can't get it, there are some people.
There are some people.
But if you put the effort and you have the motivation, I think anyone can do it.
yeah.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
Yeah.
If you put in the work, because
Some
I
people
Put in the work, put in
really,
hours,
really
and
can't
take those
get it.
hours.
I remember
But-
my first night of class.
You're right.
It was my first time ever
Yeah, you set
welding.
yourself on fire, man.
Yeah, the whole thing
You
burned
were
out.
lit.
No, but I remember one thing, as we said earlier, right? When you strike the arc, if you get it too close, it'll stick, it'll go out. You have to rip it off, and basically,
Yeah.
it's a drag, right? I remember the first time I was just sticking it like crazy.
And
It was
I came in your booth and I was like, dude, just flick it like a match.
Wow.
Thankfully, that did not
You learned
happen.
pretty
No, I
quickly from
did
that
say
advice.
You did,
told you that.
but the first night, I don't think I didn't talk to you the first night. It was the second night or something.
Yeah,
But I remember I went to
still
my,
struggling. I was like, dude, just flick it like a match. Here, let me show you.
but
And
it's,
that's what I say to everyone
yeah, you got.
when they struggle with stick.
But once you get it down, and so, as I said earlier, it's all about muscle memory. So when I'm first doing it, I'm clumsy. It's, it's going all over the place, and you can get really, frustrated. And a lot of people, I feel like, can quit. But if you just stick with it,
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
But if-
Comedy.
But it's all about muscle memory. And when you get to the point when you get down, I remember one time last year, I went a month without welding, and I went to your house.
That's not
I think
a
we
good
all
idea.
had gone a month without welding. We both had done it. But you've built the muscle memory that the first arc we struck, we laid a perfect bead.
Thank
It's like once you get it,
you're good.
You're
if
good.
You keep practicing. It's like
cool.
practicing a language.
Yeah,
I mean,
once you get it, you're gonna get it.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I feel like if I ever went into welding, which I'm getting to the point where maybe I should, but like if I ever go into welding, you know, I'm a rather uncoordinated person, and I think that it might take me a while to get to where I could do it. But if I can build up that muscle memory, you know,
as long as
it
you
might
have
take
the
me
drive,
a little longer. But
you will be perfectly fine.
if you got drive, you got power.
I mean, I've met people who just don't care.
Yeah.
There's even someone in Wake Tech who just doesn't care, and he's like, "Well, I suck," and
It's like
a continuous cycle.
So I probably
and he fails. He's
Yeah.
like, "I suck," doesn't practice, and it's just such a cycle. And you're like, I've looked at him. I run circles around this guy. And I'm like, I remember he used to be more up before me, and I run circles around this guy.
He just lacks the motivation.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I remember the first welding test I failed. I wasn't devastated, but it didn't feel good. You know, it was like, oh man, it snapped. I remember taking it to our instructor, and he's like, yeah, that's not passing. It didn't snap in half, but it was a big enough gap. But I remember what immediately thought, I was like, you know what? Go cut some more pieces. That's one thing I love about welding class. It's like the instructor tells us what to do, and obviously he's there. I'm not saying he's, you know, not watching over and making sure everything goes well, because obviously he's responsible for everything. But the metal's there, and once you figure what you're doing and learn how to work the cutting machines and everything, all right, you fail a test, all right, metal's there, go cut it up and do it again until you get it. So
exactly,
that's all it takes. But yeah, welding. If you're someone out there not sure what to do, doesn't want to go to college for 4 years and waste thousands of dollars and have to pay all this debt, find a good community college like Wake Tech with a good welding program, and in 2 years you could be making $60,000 a year easy.
And most importantly, someone out there, and this applies to any trade, any profession, someone out there, if you want to get good, if you want to make the big bucks, if you want to be the pro, the specialist, practice. Sometimes it sucks, sometimes it's hard, but
you just got the motivation. You just
got to practice, got to get
ethic.
Caleb,
get that drive, get that power.
your phone storage is full.
Really?
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, is your phone go?
the whole thing?
I don't know.
Joshua, is your phone going?
Oh, I can't see my phone, but I just looked over and I was like, there's a little message on the screen there. It says iPhone storage full.
Oh.
With that note, let's end this podcast. Thank you, Ben, for coming.
Right. We got it. Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
And this has been.
Hey, it was awesome to have you.
This has been the Hidden Dagger
Podcast.
podcast. Peace out.